you got some of the results from our latest assessment, and again, we've compared to the state in this first document. Then there was another one that was compared to the like-sized districts, which we sort of loosely compare. Do you want to go through those, or do you have any questions about the first 2 pages? And there's Sean's got a couple additional ones to show.
Yes.
So we have one that's blacked out. We don't have any EOC math or biology. Is that because those scores haven't come back yet?
Correct. Whenever it is that we have it.
Okay.
And then we don't have writing anymore,
Right.
because I turned to DLA.
Sure.
So I had it on the original document, and then I had to recreate it, and I forgot to take it off of the one that you guys have for it.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, so in simple sense, green, we did better than state. So when we were green, that's when we did better on that one. All right. So let's zip over to the comparison. You have the data in front of you, so that's where it all comes from. But then that's all averaged down into the document that's color coded. Okay, so we took an average of the like districts, and so here's what their average pass rate is, and then compared our pass rate to the average of those districts. And you can see across the board in reading, third through 6th grade, we did better than their average. In math, we did better than the average on everything. And in science, we did better than the average on everything. Okay, so that's our like districts in relationship to socioeconomic status, special ed percentage, size of the population of the district, just pretty much every demographic that would indicate similarity. Those are our similar districts, or our closest districts to us in the state. Okay, all right. And the last one you have in front of you is a graph of year over year percentage that we did better than the state. So you get a sense of on the number of assessments that we did better than the state, or the average number of assessments that we did better than the state, a better way of saying it. Okay, per category. That make sense? Any questions?
So for example, in 2014-15, 82% of our scores were higher than the state scores.
Correct. Yes, in math. Yeah.
So if you saw in the Daily World last week, week before, that they posted all of the districts and all the scores, and you could see a real variance between not only within a district, but within grade levels within a district. So we sort of tried to prepare you ourselves for expecting those scores, since this was our first go around, even though we did have it last year, we didn't have any scores. So we were pleased to see where we ended up compared to where I think we thought we were going to end up. Obviously, 7th and 8th grade, when you go back to that, this one, we still have some things to figure out there. And we're trying to think outside the box there to figure out what it is in that transition, because the 6th graders who come into 7th grade may have had great success and get into 7th grade and they're not having the same success. So that's our mission for this year, is to sort of think creatively to figure out why that transition isn't working.
It is the first year in 5 years that our 8th grade math has done better than the state. So there is a notch there that's like, okay, one area did better. Yeah.
There's no indication what the reason could be, or?
Well, the things that we've thrown out, and we've just kind of sat briefly to talk about them. Obviously, there's some physical, emotional changes that take place.
Mhm.
Is that a part of it, and we're not doing what we need to do to adjust to that with our teaching? Is it the way that we're providing instruction is so different than what they do at 6th grade that we need to ease them into it? But we're saying, 8th grade, it's the same kind of thing. So I don't know. I mean, we're gonna really dig into it and see if we can figure out
Okay.
where we can make a correction.
Would a 7-12 school make a difference for kids? I mean, I'm not sure why that
You know,
would be.
that's one of our theories, is it because our kids are jumping around, like they are with a high school in 7th and 8th grade, versus having a 7th and 8th grade is like Simpson Elementary, you know?
Or even in middle school with 6,
Right.
7, 8, where they have that 6th grade year transition.
Right.
Yeah.
All those are theories, we throw them all out and we just have to try to figure out how to figure that out.
Yeah, because if we had kids that were just in a 7th and 8th grade school, would there be a different
Right.
atmosphere or a different setup that would make a difference where
Right.
they're more distracted, or I don't know, it doesn't seem.
I mean, it's crazy complex. We could make the jump then that says, well, but our 10th grade graduation rate, or our 10th grade scores are amazing, and our graduation rate is amazing. So is it that they're struggling this way, is that what's helping with that? I mean,
Yeah.
we could tie ourselves some knots.
So we're not really looking at anything as out of the realm of possibility. And we'll continue to work, and it's obviously that's something that we hope every year when the scores come out that is gonna be different, it just hasn't been.
I think being so strong in our other grades is making it really stand out to us.
Sure. So review for me again what tests were given and what these results reflect.
Okay, you're gonna throw my mind into a vendor. I mean, so Smart Balance Assessment is the new replacement for the MSP, which used to be the WASL. So now we jumped into SBAC, Smart Balance Assessment. That's the standard across all of them. Then we have EOCs, so that's in the course exam for algebra and geometry. So when they're done taking algebra, they take a test, and biology and geometry. The SBAC, there's a big shift next year where it's jumping to 11th grade instead of 10th grade. So that's the big shift as we're coming around to say that's the one you have to do to graduate versus before it was 10th grade to graduate. What more do you want?
So we don't have any junior results here. So was the SBAC only given to sophomores? Or was it given?
It was given to 10th, yeah, correct.
Okay, but in fact, it's supposed to be the 11th grade.
Yes, it will, yeah, exactly. It was given to 10th graders. We just don't have the results. They didn't publish them.
To 11th grade.
Last year they gave it to 10th grade. This year they will give them to 11th grade.
Okay.
But we did give them to last year's 10th graders. It's just we don't have those results. That's why it says 0 on there.
Yeah, so those schools,
But we will hopefully get those results eventually.
so the schools in Seattle where 90% of the juniors didn't take the test.
Correct.
Whereas we have 100% of our juniors take the test, but those results aren't getting published. We had a high number of kids. We didn't have that fallout that they did in some other districts. But, so I'm trying to figure this 10th, 11th grade thing out.
Okay. So there's a thing called participation rate. Our participation rate was not great. It was okay. I mean, across the state participation rate was 50% for the 10th graders. We had a participation rate, but our scores were so low in 10th grade that they're not reported. Okay, and that's pretty much how it played out across the state. Either participation not reporting or the score being too low and not reporting. Does that make sense?
Well, I'm still trying to figure out these other districts where the 11th graders were the ones that walked out.
Right.
So they were
Yes,
obviously
isn't it?
offering
Yes.
the test to
Okay.
11th graders.
No, it was the 11th grade
Okay,
test.
so 11th grade was the 50%.
Yes,
Just-
that
okay.
there were districts that were saying it's not required for graduation, so their kids were opting out and not taking the test. The number of kids that we had took the test may not have opted out, but they obviously didn't take it seriously enough for us to get a score that was, what's the best way to describe that? Because what they're saying is those scores are suppressed because our success rate
Yeah.
was less than.
So we had like
5%.
72 kids take a test or something like that, and based on the success rate, then there would be maybe 2 kids that passed.
So the
And so
success
they'd
rate was less than
be able to be
5%.
identified who passed or didn't pass. And so it's all suppressed.
Okay.
So we did,
Statewide.
Well,
no, some districts got 11th grade scores.
Okay.
but they had to get I think they had to get like 15% of their kids had to pass.
So Aberdeen, I want to say Aberdeen, for example, did have scores. So it's, I would say 50-50, if not more, were suppressed than actually had scores.
Okay.
So when I saw the results that came out and of the participation rate, I was feeling pretty good about Monty because we were actually kind of at the high end, if I recall.
But they knew, and one of the things we need to find out is how did they know? Did they know from reading the paper? Did they know because their teachers told them? But it wasn't counting.
They knew from 6th grade on up that they have to pass the 10th grade MSP, right? So they go 8th grade and they go, you have to pass the 10th grade MSP. That's what you get to graduate. So they went through years of knowing the 10th grade they did it. Then they did it. They took the 10th grade test, and then they were told the year after, by the way, you do another one, which for all their years, they were told you're done after 10th grade. So you can guess the results that would happen when that kind of do that happens.
I would guess, yeah, I mean, it was sort of common knowledge that it didn't count for graduation, so.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so that's why we don't have any 11th grade scores.
Correct. But we will next year.
But the 10th graders did take
Yeah.
the Smarter Balance instead of the MSP, or did they?
Yes, no MSP. It's gone.
Okay,
Yeah, the MSP and the hit speed, which is the high school version, are no more.
yeah. And so if I pass the Smarter Balance as a sophomore, doesn't mean,
You have to pass 11th grade now.
okay, so it was a good practice.
Yeah.
Well, it was poor practice.
Well, that's,
Yes.
I'm gonna try to put a positive
Yeah.
spin on it.
They were able to put their name on the test and participate.
Okay. Any other questions?
There's no change in the way the test is administered, the different,
We were digital district-wide last year.
okay.
So
It's a,
first time district-wide, everybody was digital.
it's a
there might
completely
be-
different test,
Yeah.
Yeah, and a completely different test.
Okay.
different, based on different criteria,
Standards.
different approaches to how the questions were asked. And
Yeah.
so,
Yes.
So need everybody, huh? And each class it was kind of the same format, right? Or was it?
Yeah.
Okay,
In relation to the Common Core standards, I mean, that's
Sure.
where this is supposed to be connected.
okay.
and so some of the kids have been exposed to the Common Core, some of the
Yeah.
kids haven't been. So there's
Okay.
challenge.
We got about 2 years of Common Core exposure, 2 to 1. Everybody had at least one. But the intent is that they've had a career of Common Core exposure, and that's where we'll be eventually.
Any other questions? Any questions from the audience?
I've got a question, I guess. So you're having one test, and it doesn't matter if the kid's gonna go on to college or work in a service station, he's gotta pass that same test to get the, to go to graduation. And is that a federal requirement, a state requirement?
State board.
State
Board of
board?
Education, yeah, I mean, it comes out of the legislature. And, but it's a state requirement.
With some foundations at the federal level. So it all started with No Child Left Behind.
So you're gonna have these kids that just took it in the 10th grade, they're gonna take it again next year. And there shouldn't be any reason, if they don't pass it, they take it 2 years in a row.
Yes, except it's the same, they're different questions, same format.
Yeah.
But I get your question. I don't always agree with this kind of high stakes testing. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, graduation is important to those kids, very important, I think. And to say just because you don't pass one test, you don't graduate,
It's a big challenge. And
yeah.
because of the fact that a lot of kids didn't pass the biology, so passing a biology test was one of the requirements to graduate this year. And because a lot of kids weren't going to do that, the legislature at the very end of the session actually relaxed that requirement because there were a bunch of kids that were going to not be able to graduate because they hadn't passed the biology in the course exam. So there's some challenges though. There's 2 different levels of passing that at the 11th grade. There's one level that's set nationwide, or at least for the schools that are the states that are involved with the Smarter Balance. And that says you're college and career ready. The State Board of Education has set a lower cut score, or is it? I think they actually said it. And their goal there was to have the same number of kids passing that as were passing the test in the previous years. So to get the same graduation rate. So they set a lower score, and they actually took a fair amount of guff from the legislature over doing that. They got quite a few threats for setting that lower score. But the idea was we introduced this new curriculum, we have this new test, but let's not use that to fail a bunch more kids.
Yeah.
Their goal was to keep that passing rate or the graduation rate the same. Okay. Well, thank you. And congratulations to the staff. This looks good. That one chart with that's good news.
Yeah, progressively
Yeah,
seeing upward trend
yeah.
across the board.
There's some really good stuff there. Sheila.
I don't have a whole lot in the monthly budget status report. You've got everything in your packet. I would say that, of course it's August, but that's not when we close our books because we have things still coming in for this current year that we'll be paying out next month, even though they're for the 14-15 school year. So we end our books not till the end of October. So, and what you're looking at obviously this month is things from July because we're not done with August yet. So really, unless you have any questions about what you received, I don't have anything else other than the things that we'll talk about a little bit later.
The only question I had was when we approved to spend a certain amount of money on the field turf, and I thought was it 100,000?
Yes.
I thought I saw in there that we'd spent more than that already. I was just curious what happened.
No, we transferred money, the district transferred money from the general fund to the capital project fund. That's what you approved. That's the district's portion of the turf project.
Okay.
All the other donations that have come in have paid for the turf.
Oh, okay.
So when you see the
They included
check to,
other sources of
yeah,
funds.
all that donation money comes into the capital projects fund.
Okay, got it. Makes sense.
Okay, any other questions? Good. Consent agenda.
Now we will approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Personnel report.
I'll move we approve the personnel report.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the personnel report. Any discussion? Anything we should know?
No, other than we're trying to find a third grade teacher, which is a struggle, but
Trying to find one.
well, we have an opening now because of the leave of absence.
Oh, okay.
It's getting awfully late.
Did we advertise the opening yet?
Yeah, I said you guys first impressions. We can get more. No, we've got, we're part of the personnel schools co-op in the ESD, and so the posting goes out to anyone that's looking within our ESD. Yeah.
Okay.
We've given ourselves the best chance to find a teacher. We just have to get lucky.
All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, at this point, we will recess the regular board meeting to go into executive session. And we will be discussing bargaining. Is that what this is?
No, the public hearing is for the
Oh.
budget resolution.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna recess.
Recess for a public hearing, not executive session.
Okay. I was wrong.
Yes,
So-
Am I good?
Okay, yes, so we'll now open the public hearing.
Perfect. So I sent on the information about the budget extension. Again, this is a requirement that we need to increase the apportionment or the appropriation of the budget so we don't exceed that capacity. we're increasing it $302 with the rounding in the system, that $2 comes in there, but it was a flat $300,000, just to make sure that we have capacity, that we don't exceed that budget amount. I'm guessing that we're gonna be somewhere in the, somewhere around, I hate to even put a number out there, just around 13 million. So we've got a little cushion there, just so we don't have an issue right there at the end. But we need to increase that so we don't have the chance of going over.
Okay, and this is additional revenue that
Yes.
is a result of state
Enrollment,
apportionment.
Yeah,
enrollment.
enrollment, the focus grant came in that we had no idea, that's $20,000. So, yeah, additional revenue coming in, which causes us to have additional expenditure. Same thing with special ed, we receive more money, we need to spend that money in those programs. So it's not gonna affect the end fund balance at all. We've got the revenues to support it.
So that was for increased enrollment from last year,
Now, this current year,
from this current year? Oh, because we've already got a check from the state already? Or we're well? That's what
well,
you're saying.
we get those all year through,
Yeah.
but it's based on actual enrollment.
Actual
And we've
enrollment.
always budget conservatively with enrollment,
Oh, okay.
so we don't get into a situation where we lose students and then we've got staff in place and can't afford them.
So this is money that's been coming in all along, and we now have a pretty good idea what it looks like, and so we adjust the budget to reflect that.
We did this last August, same thing.
So, public comment from the board, any questions? Okay. Comment from the public? Comment from the public, 3 times. Comment
Going.
from the public, okay. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing and resume the regular board meeting. And so the first item of business is the general fund budget extension that we just have the hearing on.
I'll move we approve the general fund budget extension resolution 408.15.
Also,
It's been moved and seconded to approve the budget extension resolution 408.15. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Fuel bid.
This is our yearly requirement to put out a fuel bid to get the best fuel prices. There's one vendor that we received a bid from, and it's Masco, who we've been using for, that's 2 years or just last year? 1.5. So you got that information in your packet.
Mhm.
And we're just asking to approve the fuel bid for the 15-16 school year.
so we got one bid?
Yep.
Okay. Is there any comparables, anything to get an idea of how competitive that is? I mean, even though there's one bid. Price wise.
Without receiving another bid, it's difficult to see based on, because Grace Harbor is going to be different,
Sure.
even though there's a formula that they use. The advantage, PET was the other company.
Okay.
Their station across the railroad tracks is now a Masco, so we have multiple places that we can fill up, Cenex and then across the way, so.
Is it comparable to someone like last
Yeah.
year? Okay, there's nothing, because with one bid,
Right. No, it's not like they're gouging.
Okay.
They give you a Tacoma base, and then they add a factor to reflect the fact that we're down here. If that Tacoma base fluctuates during the course of the year, then our fuel prices fluctuate during the course of the year. So we have some both upside and downside adjustment.
It's a margin, so
And
at
then
least we have that locked in.
any further discussion? All those in favor, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll motion.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the fuel bid from NASCO. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Out of state travel for the cross-country team?
This is what we do every time this year in board policy. It says the board has to approve any out-of-state travel. This is the annual cross-country meet in Seaside that takes place.
How much is it? Are we approving?
Well, you're just approving the travel.
Oh, just the
Just the
travel.
ability to
just-
travel
okay.
outside the state.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll move we approve the out-of-state travel cross-country seaside action.
Second.
been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, we have a proposed 10 cent per meal change.
It's just for lunch. At each building, we need to increase the lunch prices 10 cents for those students that pay full price for lunch. According to the calculation that we have to do for the federal government, they tell us that we have to increase those prices by 10 cents to be in compliance with their guidelines.
Okay.
Just curious, how are we in compliance by, why do they require a 10 cent
Well,
increase?
it's a formula they use, but it's called the paid lunch equity. So we have to have, our weighted lunch average has to be a certain amount, and if it's not, then we have to increase that price. So the amount of free and reduced meals we get versus the amount of paid
Oh.
we get and what they reimburse. So
It's
I can show you a
it's
spreadsheet
to
if you're
update
interested in
a regulated formula, right,
Yes.
from the feds.
from the
Okay.
federal government.
And if we're out of compliance, then we don't get the free and reduced reimbursement.
We could risk losing that, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we get a certain amount of money from the federal government to account for the free and reduced lunches that we provide.
Okay.
So that's the risk in that process. Any further discussion? I would entertain a motion.
I'll motion.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the 10 cent increase in the lunch costs. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Highly capable plan.
So it is a state requirement that the board approve the highly capable plan each year. You've got, hopefully got a copy of that via email yesterday. There's not a lot in it in terms of, but it does sort of show you how we're approaching it. Sean, do you want to comment on that at all?
Yeah, this year we are shifting from what we did last year. Last year, we paid a teacher a number of hours to run the highly capable program. This year, we have hired a half-time FTE to run the program. So you should see an expansion of how that program's gonna look. And we've been, because it's became a requirement to run a highly capable program K-12 starting last year. And in that start, we've been doing a ton of research to figure out what is an appropriate program for it to meet the needs of what the intent of the highly capable rules are through the state. So we've learned a lot, primarily being that the highly capable kids need to have instruction given to them by their gen ed teachers, which is a big jump. It's easy for us to start thinking of high cap as let's pull them out and give them a special program. But that's not what the research says, and not what the law is telling us that we should be doing. So our teacher is endeavoring to make sure that those kids are getting an appropriate program inside of their classroom program.
So it looks like we're targeting 2 kids a grade.
Yeah, that's just a mark to say we're talking, if high cap is a constant about 1% of your population. So that's just to communicate it's low there. It's not our actual numbers.
Okay, what are our actual numbers like?
As we go up to the high school level, so once you're in high cap, you stay in high cap,
Right.
unless you opt out. So we have kids that we haven't provided a program to that were qualified in high cap years ago when they were in elementary school. So that number puts our high school level up into per grade, 7, 10 in different grades. So there's a higher number there, but that program is preparing that through advanced placement and college credit and that kind of stuff. And we're providing online instruction to them. They have access to our curriculum. And then it gets significantly smaller as you move on down to kindergarten. So kindergarten, we can't figure it out at the start of the year. So usually we're figuring out our plan is to figure those kids out coming back in December. And then they'll be in and move on for the years to go. It's just not appropriate to identify a high cap kid that's 5 in school.
So if you do the screening each year, right, or do you do the screening when they're kindergartners and then those kids stay in the program, or do you screen the entire school population each year?
Whole school population.
Okay, so
Yes.
you might
But they
identify.
stay in, and then once we get through this first barrier, you can sense once we get everybody, then it becomes, okay, now we're just looking at people who hadn't, we need cash before, or there's some nuance of something who's transferred into our district. So,
And kids may mature into it. I mean, at some point they,
Yeah.
they weren't, didn't meet the criteria and then mature into that
yeah,
population.
exactly,
So that's why you would have a bigger.
right.
One of the things that intrigued me that as one of the possible opportunities was academic competitions. Do we try to funnel these kids into Knowledge Bowl and math team and that kind of stuff?
So at the goal, so Julie's our high cap teacher. What her main role, what big role we talk about the high school and junior high school level is to jump in with the counselors and start having real conversations about the pathway these kids can have. Julie has spent a lot of time last year figuring out the systems at high school, so one's like Knowledge Bowl, and to get a sense of like, she will know these kids from kindergarten on up now, right? So there will be a point, she's going to develop relationships with them and she's going to, help counsel them into programs that are appropriate for them. So you can see what this can mean over years.
Yeah.
It's harder to think about like, okay, what is it going to be now? But our teacher is incredibly passionate and deeply cares about this population. So I'm incredibly excited about where we're going to head.
I think it'd be a natural tendency for those kids to flow into things like Knowledge Bowl math team.
You'd think, yeah.
But there's some kids that they're so outlier that they've fallen off the radar. And she has a passion to keep those kids from falling off the radar.
Yeah. Neat.
So, yeah.
So did the 5-minute tour of the screening process.
So don't think of it as screening, because that would be, that means something different.
Right.
Right,
Okay.
so it's, so we have gathering data,
Okay.
right, and using that data to make informed decisions. So that data is, anybody can make a referral, is one data point. So that's anyone, parent, teachers, who knows who else might show up, administrators, who knows, can make a referral. Then it's looking at state assessments, looking at our district assessments, looking at just any information we have on a child, and then their flag will go up and say, okay, we're to participate in this test. We notify the parents and say, are you interested? And that's moving down assessment road. And then the parents agreed and we do. And then if they do qualify, then we say, are you interested in participating? Every year they're given the opportunity to continue to participate or not. So that's really all it is. It's just what information do we have on kids.
Okay.
Kind of thing. But we don't, and then we have a real test. It's not an IQ test, but you can think of it like that, that we give kids, standardized.
So the Odyssey of the Mind and some of those programs that we've had 10 or 15 years ago that were touted as being high cap,
Right.
that's not the direction that.
No. When we jump out of standard curriculum is more at the junior high school level, jumping into our APEX system. So a kid could say, I want to take Japanese, and we'd let them as a extended kind of thing. But at the elementary levels, it's really targeted as how can we deal with them in the class. We still care about things like the science fair. That was an incredibly valuable event last year.
I thought so.
So there'll still be those kind of things, but I wouldn't consider that to be our core, our foundation anymore. That's more like we think it'd be good to do, and we'll engage our high achievers into that as well, rather than just being here at the heck out.
Yeah, because I firmly believe that science fair can have to be pretty general. Okay. So I would entertain a motion.
I'll move we approve the highly capable plan.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I do have a question. Is this the same plan that this is the first time I've seen the plan. Does this come up every year?
Starting last year.
Starting
So
last
you
year.
will see this every year as we move forward.
Okay.
Yeah. But last year was the first year they required board approval. This is the first time they said you have to have a plan K-12.
Okay, and the board has to review it and approve it to
Yes.
make sure it's
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're developing and figuring this out. You can see the trajectory we are in figuring this stuff out. I guess the best I could throw you is know that we really care and we're trying to figure it out. You know, and I think we're on a good path.
And so Julie's doing that halftime. Is she at halftime something else? then?
Yeah, she's halftime lab learning systems program. So she's working with our high end.
So we moved the lap system from, extended it from Beacon
Yes.
where it was only
It
there.
was only Simpson, now it's extended down to Beacon, and Title's moving from Beacon up to Simpson.
okay.
So she's lab on Title.
She's an intervention specialist.
Yeah, think of it, get off the program category, think of her role, she's an intervention specialist.
Okay.
Yeah, and high cap specialist.
It's cross-funding.
It's lovely.
It's a mess when it comes to funding, but we're doing great.
So she's clearly a quality
Yeah.
person.
The district, I mean, the other thing to know is the district is taking in funds to fund the high cap program. We aren't even close to being funded from the state.
They didn't increase the funding even though they
Yeah.
made it K-12.
Yeah, so it is a district, we're making more happen, I guess, than.
Sure. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we're at the point of public comment again. If there's any questions, ideas, whatever? Hearing none. Superintendent's report.
Couple things, the turf is obviously completed. Interesting to watch, they put approximately 40 tons of rubber and probably, at least half of that of sand into that field, and to watch the blades stand up as they brush it and keep piling that rubber on is pretty amazing. Get a chance to get out there and walk on it because it's pretty neat. Tomorrow night will be the opening event with the high school football jamboree. We had our orientation day yesterday and another teacher training today, which was, I thought, very productive. A lot of new people. We met the new teachers in here Tuesday afternoon, sort of introduced the district office staff so they knew who we were. They're good people, excited to be here. I feel good that we've added really strong people to what we already have. Open houses are taking place tonight. Beacon is right now. Simpson will start at 6:30. The high school will have theirs in a couple of weeks. And just to follow up with one of your requests, we have put in some collaboration time with differentiated instruction that Sean's going to start once a month on Thursdays, actually board meeting days, so you'll get reports, but anyone is able to come for additional pay to work for an hour on finding out new ways to reach different learners. So that's a start.
Good.
That's it. Differentiated instruction.
Okay.
That's it.
So the school year has started, or has started.
Yeah, when do we start?
Ready
Wednesday?
or not.
Okay, good, yeah. And I know I'm taking my grandson backpacking this weekend in the rain potentially. And he starts first grade on Monday up in Kent, so it's definitely happening. So we have the new turf in the old days, and that was a question that Chris and I were talking about. When we would move up through the playoffs and we'd end up on a turf field, we had to have different shoes.
Yes.
Is that still the
No.
case?
No, these are the same. It's designed so that it's like grass, so you wear the same shoes that you would wear in
Okay,
grass.
so we don't have to provide shoes to visiting
Right.
teams or anything like that. Okay, well, that's good. So, board comments, Chris?
Got a chance to see the field too, and it looks really good. It's nice seeing it already being used with the football team. So that's neat to see. And also I'm kind of excited about the new school year. I took my daughter in here starting 7th grade this year, and it's kind of neat to see the new experiences she'll be having. And also the highly capable program, it's a very good program too. I'm glad we're doing what we can, and it changed. My son was involved in it, and my daughter, and I noticed academically a lot of improvement. It really, I think it has a real, it's very effective. So, but yeah, that's it. New year.
The cookies were great, thank you. It's good to see two board candidates showing up, even if they're not elected yet. That's always a good thing. And so things are going well. Don't have any other comments.
Good. Well, the results are fun. Definitely some positive things happening. And that's good to see. And there's been a lot of hard work, a lot of thought, I think, that's gone into the last couple of years to move that along. So congratulations again to you guys and the staff for making that happen. And it's exciting always to start a new year. So, and the concentration on those junior high years, I think that will be interesting to see where we can go with that. So that's good stuff. Any further comments?
Next month for teaching and learning, we'll do an update on the cell phone policy at the high school, how it has gone and whether or not we need to make any improvements. And then Beacon is in October. Do you remember what they were going to talk about?
All the kindergarten.
Yes, all the kindergarten with walk age. So you'll get a report on that.
Good. Okay. That'd be good stuff. Okay, meeting's adjourned.